What's up, guys? Welcome back to The Last Word Sports. Here today, Charlie Owen, Scott Caverts, back again with our playoff prediction series. And right now, Game 7, OKC and Houston Rockets. This has been a very, very, very good series to watch. Very back-and-forth games, lots of hot streaks and cold streaks. A little bit of consistency here and there, but it's definitely been about who shows up to play that day. Not going to mess around. We're going to go right into our predictions. Scott, who you got in Game 7?
I got the Houston Rockets. Look, I like OKC. I think they've overperformed all year. They've had a guard-heavy attack, which has allowed them to kind of run with the small ball Rockets lineup. Right, you play Dennis Schroeder, Chris Paul, Shai Gilgeous, and they have won a ton of close games this year because they have three guards who can shoot in close games. But at the end of the day, as talented as Shai Gilgeous is and as savvy of a playmaker and defender as Chris Paul is, and as much of a great slasher and scorer as Dennis Schroeder has been off the bench for the Thunder this year, I just think at the end of the day, in the fourth quarter, Game 7s, it comes down to the stars, man, and you got to ride with James Harden, Russell Westbrook, two guys to close out this series, advance to the next round. These are two players who, throughout their career, have struggled in playoffs and fourth quarters and big games, which is surprising why I'm picking them, but I think this is a premier opportunity for Harden and Westbrook, two guys whose legacies could really use the boost of winning a championship together. That's kind of the one knock. They have all the stats, they have all the MVPs and the accolades. They need rings, and this bubble is a great opportunity for them. With the Warriors, it was kind of like, hey, nobody has a chance. Now all the best teams are duos. And Westbrook and Harden, really have just as good of a shot as any of these teams if they can get going. I mean, both of them are two of the most versatile guards in the modern era. And I think, ultimately, I'm going to trust Harden to go get his buckets. And Westbrook, although he's looked a little shaky coming back from his injury,
Interesting.
I'm going to trust him to come back and be their center, get those rebounds, slash and attack the rim. I think Chris Paul has had a bunch of unfortunate luck in the playoffs, especially in early rounds, despite playing well. I think that's going to happen again. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who in Game 5 was really bad. He had like 4 points. He's been kind of on and off. I love Shai.
Brandon Ingram.
He had 10 tonight. Danilo had 25. But I think those two who are more low-key stars who really aren't as much of a household name, I think they're going to come up kind of small in Game 7.
Okay. I understand that. So I went the opposite route. I chose OKC. Basically, honestly, for the reason why Scott was like, I know this, I know that. Westbrook's looked very shaky coming out.
He was 11 of 31 in Game 5 against the Blazers last year. Not the greatest look.
I mean, he's always looked... His motives have always been questionable in the playoffs. Like, whether he's trying to get his bag and whether he's trying to get, his buckets, his assists, his rebounds, or whether he's actually trying to win. Same kind of thing with Harden. He's going to jack up a lot of shots. He's going to get his buckets. I mean, he's averaging 31.8, man. On like 48.6% shooting. Like he's been definitely getting his buckets, man, but like to the extent of winning is kind of my whole thing because, OKC coming into this, it's like you really didn't think they had a shot. This was a team where it's like they looked good in the regular season. They were a very good cohesive team. Dennis Schroeder, 6th Man of the Year candidate, along with Lou Will and Montrezl Harrell. You look at Chris Paul, and it's kind of like his career's kind of been almost revamped, if you will, after his little stint in Houston. And you got guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, as you mentioned, and Danilo Gallinari, who can fill up the stat sheet some nights, but, aren't always reliable. But then they come into the bubble, and they're just electrifying to watch, man. Steven Adams is just an absolute brute inside. I'm really happy we're getting to watch this just monster now that he doesn't have to give rebounds to Russell Westbrook. Chris Paul has just been such a leader for this team, and I think that's the thing that the Rockets are missing, because you got Harden and you got Westbrook, but are they really just like the likable, lovable leaders that Chris Paul or Jimmy Butler is? Guys who can rally a team in these tough, close games.
That's a good point, Chuck, but the one thing I will say is, for me, Westbrook is that leader for this team. He has been
I can
vocal,
understand
aggressive
that.
guy, and I think him coming back, even if he doesn't play great, kind of shocked me that they lost tonight because in Game 5 with Westbrook,
It was a close game though.
In Game
but
5,
Westbrook had the game-losing turnover, which was kind of ironic.
In Game 5, Westbrook didn't play very well at all. His first game back from injury, but the Rockets still blew him out. And I feel like his just presence on the team. If you looked, when he was injured, he was yelling at the refs. He was up. He was running around.
Yeah, he was definitely
guy,
engaged.
And he, to me, has brought a new intensity to this team on defense that they've needed in recent years. He's had them really lock in, focus. Team. But what they do is they will hound you. They're pests. They will go for steals. They'll get in your face. They're aggressive. They don't have the size to play traditional half-court defense. So
they got Tyson Chandler. They just never let him play.
Yeah, well, he's pretty old, and they don't like to run him for whatever reason. But I think Russ is going to be the difference here, as weird as it sounds. I think he's going to be the leader that they need down the stretch to help the team close the game, even if he's not the one making the shots. I think if he can just get out of his own way and prevent his ego from having to shoot a bunch of open threes and break.
And that's exactly why I think they'll lose, because I think he's going to let his ego get in the way. Because we've seen it in the past.
After all he's been through, after Dame waving him goodbye, I think he's reached a point now where he's like,
you really hope so,
I've got my stats, I've got my accolades. So. I need to go.
You better let Harden have his bag, man. You gotta let Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's actually had a really, really good series, man. Not shooting well from three, but like he's been playing well. Daniel House, Jeff Green's been doing amazing off the bench. What's he getting? 15 and a half.
Green.
That man's a journeyman. He's been everywhere. But my whole thing is just like, is Westbrook gonna show up in that moment? We haven't seen it in the playoffs, man.
That's fair.
And I can't count on it. And, Harden's always been a critic, or like he's always had his critics about, this man's efficiency is atrocious. And I mean, he's been really great this series.
You mentioned it yourself. Harden's averaging 32 points per game, is it?
Yeah, it's 30.
Shaq said this the other day. The all-time great 32. Players, he was mentioning it. He's like, when you get in the playoffs, the recipe for success is up your points, up your rebounds, right, by like 5 or 6. You have to become better in the biggest moments in the playoffs.
Yep.
And guys like Westbrook, 32 points a game is great, and it's crazy that I'm saying this. He averages 35 in the regular season.
Yep.
He's not right. Like you look at a guy like Kawhi Leonard, who averages 27 in the regular season, and then
he ups it to 35.
Averages 33 and 12 in the playoffs.
In the postseason.
Same with a guy like LeBron. Same with a guy like Michael Jordan.
Now with a guy like Chris
obviously
Paul.
Those guys. Michael Jordan's a whole nother level, but. You gotta up your game.
Really?
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. You don't say.
Hey, Jamal Murray just tied Michael Jordan. So the bubble's a weird place, man.
Bubble's been very interesting. Yeah. I'm just can't believe I'm about to use this pun. I'm really about to buy into the electricity of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Okay,
I'm buying.
I think that's enough for this one, folks. Thanks for watching.
Who do you agree with, me or Scott? Who do you think's gonna win Game 7? If you like the video, leave a thumbs up. If you're new here, please feel free to subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. On the road to 500K.
500K.
Yes, sir.
Coming soon.
We on it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, shout out Madison Beer.
Thank y'all for watching. This has been The Last Word.